Welcome to Paranormal Heart Podcast, Paranormal Talk with Heart and Soul. Tonight's segment is pre-recorded, streaming on United Public Radio Network, 107.7 New Orleans and 105.3 the Gulf Coast, YouTube, and any place you find your favorite podcast. I'm your host, Kat Ward. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Looking for another great podcast? Join my friends Justin Cancilliere and Erik Scerbak on ParaTruth Reborn. Explore the mysteries behind the veil every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on UPRN, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And don't forget to tell them that Kat sent you. Well, my haunted hearts, welcome to a special holiday edition of Paranormal Heart Podcast, where the lights are dim, the stories are dark, and the gifts may come with something extra. Joining us tonight are my paranormal brothers, Erik Scerbak and Justin Cancilliere, hosts of ParaTruth Reborn, like I just mentioned a minute ago, as we unwrap chilling tales, oh good grief, of haunted Christmas gifts and explore creepy holiday traditions from around the world. So pour some eggnog, check under the tree, and brace yourself because this Christmas, the strange is very much alive. Hello, guys.
How's it going?
Hey.
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Thank you so much for being my guest for this Christmas season of 2025. I can't believe the year.
It's almost over.
It's flowing. It's flown by, guys.
It's flown by.
It's doing something. Doing something quickly.
You gotta give Erik a little bit of time. Eventually, he gets there.
Yeah, I gotta warm up.
Isn't it usually Justin that's tongue-tied?
Erik, almost every time.
I was trying to help you out, Erik.
I know. Thanks. I appreciate it, guys.
Good grief.
I don't know how many times he apologizes to the audience. Guys, I can't talk. I don't know what's going on.
It's the worst. I can't even, like, Siri doesn't even know what I'm talking to her on my phone.
Oh, no.
It's wild. She's like,
That's
oh,
so funny.
I'm a banana. She's like, brownies? No.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I know. I sometimes when I try to use, because I have an Android, and I'll say, Google. I don't want to say it out loud because
it's always listening.
Didn't hear me. Good. And the thing that it says is not even what I said. I'm like, no. Good grief. I'm starting to think it's the way we speak, maybe. I don't know.
Could be. I mean, AI has its own language, so maybe it's getting confused and,
That's true. Yeah. So I am excited for this episode because I put out on social media asking listeners what they'd like to hear. And a few of them chimed back that they would like to hear about haunted Christmas gifts and some weird traditions from around the world. So I thought, let's go for it. I don't think I've done that. Maybe in little honorable mentions, but I don't think I've actually done an episode on that. So I'm pretty excited. And I want to thank the listeners for giving us the idea for this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's something that hasn't really been talked about much. I don't think we've ever even talked about
it.
No. You heard it here first, kids. So the Victorian Christmas ghost stories, like the Victorian tradition, it's so like there's Christmas songs. When I was a kid, I never understood why they were talking about doing ghost stories while you're sitting around the Christmas tree. And I thought, ghost stories? What is up with that? So apparently in the 19th century, people commonly gathered around the fire on Christmas Eve to tell ghost stories and believing the veil between worlds was thinner during this season. So it's kind of neat to know that they thought that way back then as well as they do now.
Yeah, we've done an episode on this and talking about, Charles Dickens and a lot of his work, not just A Christmas Carol, but there were others that were really, really dark. And we loved it. And we're like, bring this tradition back. Like, why do we not do this?
Yeah. I think a lot of people like to, they try to separate this idea of what typically is Halloween's type of thing, right? We tell scary stories around then. And they want to separate that from Christmas for obvious reasons. Christmas is all about joy and, having time with family and spending it together. But when you actually look at the kind of cross-reference Halloween and Christmas, you do see some similarities between the two. And it could be in part because we're looking at the beginning and the end of a particular season in terms of the solstice.
Yep.
So that could really tie into this. But regardless, ghost stories are one of those things that are really coming back. We see more and more horror-based Christmas stories, like movies, television shows coming out every single year. And that's just gaining traction because I think people just, they love horror. They love to be scared. But there's something about the Christmas time and horror that just kind of meld somehow.
Yeah, like even Krampus is making a comeback, because I think I had mentioned to you guys before that. So the town that I live in, the next town over, they have their Santa Claus parade before, like a week before we do in my town. And somebody was showing on social media some pictures, and Krampus was there. And I was just like, what? So it's so nice to see that coming back to and people aren't batting an eye.
Right.
Well, and that's, I just looked this up because I sent it to you guys and posted it on ParaTruth's page that Shelly and I both got Krampus tattoos.
Yes. So cool.
But Krampus Day is December 5th. It's not even close to Christmas. So,
No.
But it is cool to see that people are embracing that tradition again. And like a lot of the people that were doing the tattoos and stuff knew who Krampus was, loved the story of Krampus. And over where I live here in Bismarck, you mentioned Krampus and they're like, what's that? So I don't know if it's the area or if it's just the interest in the paranormal, because there is a lot of German and Norwegian heritage here.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I think just a few years ago, I would mention Krampus and everybody's like, who?
Yeah.
Just Google it. I can't.
I mean, there was a movie that came out about this guy, for Pete's sake. Watch the movie.
Yeah, no, 100%. That was back 2015, I think it came out.
Somewhere in there,
2015.
I don't think I've watched it either.
I have.
You call yourself a paranormal radio host.
Eric will attest to this. I loved parts of it. There were a lot of parts that I'm like, it's not that great, but there were some funny parts in it, and it was pretty dark too. But I highly suggest people watch it if they can.
Yeah, at the very least, it gives you a good basis of who Krampus is and what he does.
Right.
Obviously, there's a lot of leeway because it is Hollywood, and they take, they have a creative thoughts to the character, but the gist of it is pretty similar to the stories in terms of Krampus showing up and taking children who are basically bad throughout the year.
Right.
Yeah, I think I have. Hang on here. I think that was one of the. Hang on here. Oh, yeah. So since we're on talking about Krampus, so one of the traditions from around the world, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name Krampus and then Nacht. I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Krampusnacht.
Thank you.
I know a little.
Bless you. So it's Austria and Germany. The one, this one's become very popular, like I mentioned earlier, even here in my area. Mentioned the Santa Claus parade. He was very well received too. Like people were taking pictures with him, like selfies. It was amazing. So men dress as horned demons, Krampus, and roam the streets. Good grief. I'm pulling Eric here.
Hey.
On December 5th, rattling chains and terrifying onlookers. And Krampus isn't, I can't even say his name anymore. Isn't folklore entertainment. He's a pre-Christian spirit meant to punish bad behavior. There's bells, masks, noise were originally used to drive away or embody dark entities, depending on the region. And many scholars believe that Krampus functioned as a ritualized possession masquerade similar to winter rites across Europe. So it's pretty neat just to see some of these old traditions coming back.
Yeah, and to see that. It used to be Krampus and Santa, and now it's all been put onto Santa to do both of these things, punish them by giving them coal and stuff like that. I mean, he's not whipping them with reeds, putting them in a sack and then stealing them away.
True.
But yeah, that's the most fascinating thing I feel, is that a lot of this has just kind of died away, and it's kind of been absorbed by Santa.
Well,
I wonder when that happened.
Good question.
That's a good question. And there's a lot of speculation, I'm sure, and I wouldn't doubt if part of it is, at least in certain Christian circles, in which they tried to push Krampus out because it was this demonic like entity, and bring in more of Santa, who would punish, do good, but also I wouldn't say punish, kids who are bad, but discipline kids. You wouldn't give them gifts, right? So I think it was, and I'm not saying this for a fact, I'm not saying it was Christian circles that did this, but when we look at history and how Christianity did change a lot of history regarding various faiths and belief systems throughout, paganism and history of paganism, it is very possible. But now that we're seeing this show up again, we're seeing Krampus show up again, we kind of get this good and bad, a opposing forces that kind of balance each other out, much like we see in God and the Devil, which, to me is a very distinct similarity between the two. One who is very good, jolly, and raises people up, gifts them, and the other who is angry and wants to torture or harm people who are bad or punish them like the devil would in hell. Of course, assuming if you follow the tradition that Satan is simply designed to punish people in hell. And that's very different. There's various beliefs regarding Satan and that whole scenario, of course, but again, there's a connection there.
I keep thinking, and I didn't even look it up. I keep thinking maybe Santa took on both roles, the similar roles, because of Coca-Cola. Because all I can envision, I remember we had this great big life-size plastic poster that we'd take out every year, and it was Santa Claus holding a Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, prior to this version of Coke, of Santa from Coke, Santa was primarily wearing green. He was adorned in green clothing, and Coca-Cola changed him into red clothing to match their colors for Coke. So that's where we get this tradition of Santa wearing red. And which is funny because it's not really tradition in the sense of this is Christmas, but this is instead, it's more of this is advertisement, and it's stuck,
Didn't A Nightmare Before Christmas put him in red, though? Or was that after Coke started doing?
That was way after Coke.
Was it?
Yeah.
Coca-Cola. Just to make sure the audience knows.
You turned red because people were doing Coke, and it just, turned red.
Oh, my cheeks are all rosy.
As a kid, I used to think Santa was Canadian because he was wearing red and white, and that's the Canadian colors. So proud.
I mean, he is from the north, so I can at least give you that.
Okay, thank you. I remember because in my youth, I used to do a lot of cross stitching, and my mom, so my maternal grandfather had all these Santa snow globes and everything as a collection. So every year my mom would give him one, and then when he passed, my mom got it, and then when she passed, I got it. Not a lot of them lasted over the years, but I still have some. But I remember making a cross stitch for my mother one year, and there was like 17 different Santas, tall, short, skinny, fat, and some of them were dressed all in white with a little bit of gold. Some of them were tall and slim wearing green, and it was really interesting to see all the different variations of Santa.
Yeah.
I know it's fun to cross stitch.
Well, Santa has worn a number of different colors throughout the years, and white and gold is one of them. He had blue for a while. But the commercialization of Santa is what really brought this red version, and the one that stuck, and it's what they started using in all the movies and television shows. So naturally, with all of these various companies creating Santa with this red clothing attire, this red attire, it basically just become the tradition that we stick to. It's what most people know him as nowadays. But the red coloring, the red coat, the red hat, it's actually relatively young in his history.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I never even put two and two together with the colors of Coca-Cola and Santa.
Yeah, red and white.
You taught me something, yeah.
Yeah, not Canada.
Coca-Cola is Canadian. So there's another pretty cool tradition, I guess. I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, and
You
I
want me to
really
do it?
Yeah, the Frau Perchta.
Frau Perkta, yeah.
Oh, Perchta? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was Perchta, not Perchta.
That's what I've been told as how it's pronounced, yes.
Okay, thank you. From the Alpine regions, and visits homes during the 12 nights, December 25th to January 6th. If pleased, she cuts open people. Oh, sorry. If displeased, not pleased. Wow. Good grief. Brutal.
If she pleases, she does what she pleases, okay?
If she's pleased, she cuts you open. I mean,
yeah.
You'll be fine. She's gonna stuff you full of straw and garbage and stuff, but you'll be fine.
Yep. Tied to household orders, spinning, and women's work and ancestral judgment. Objects left out incorrectly, so like food, tools, ornaments, were believed to attract her punishment. A possible cultural route for haunted household items during Christmas.
And there's so many more out there, like Gryla and the Yule Lads and the Yule Cat. The three of those are linked.
Yep.
Comes from that same area of the world too.
Yep. The Yule Cat is pretty interesting because, I'll first mention a little bit about it. It originated in Iceland. A giant cat eats anyone who didn't receive new clothes for Christmas. Beyond social pressure, this creature is tied to winter starvation myths and the idea that spirits claim the unprepared. Children were warned the cat could see them at night, a recurring theme in Christmas hauntings. Now, I remember growing up for Christmas, every year we used to open one gift at Christmas Eve, and it was always pajamas. And my mom's from a family of 13, so all my cousins and aunts and uncles, they would get pajamas as well. So I'm wondering if that tradition kind of stems from that.
Could be.
It very well could be. I mean, I don't think there's no real way to say.
No.
But I will say that there is an alternative to this story as well, very similar. And Yule Cat is, I've said it multiple times on our show, it's probably my number one favorite entity in Christmas folklore. I love the Yule Cat, right? The whole story behind him. But there is a secondary story that says that he primarily eats children who don't buy themselves clothing throughout the year, not just Christmas. And this was potentially a story that was told from adults, parents, grandparents, etc., to their children, so that these children, when earning allowances, would then put that money towards something good and resourceful, like clothing, rather than to junk like food or toys, things like that. And otherwise this cat would eat them. You are muted, Cat.
Yes, I was. Thank you. Oh, Lordy. Always happens. You guys know me in technology.
That we do.
Yeah. So when I mentioned to my daughter the topic for tonight's episode, when I told her about the cat, I'm not even going to pronounce the Icelandic word because
that one I have no idea.
No, I know I butchered that, but anyway, she was like, "Oh, the Christmas cat." Yeah, she likes that one too.
Yeah, he's a good one. He is definitely. I think a lot of people probably like the Yule Cat for the simple fact that it's a cat, right? We have this weird fascination about cats nowadays, myself included. But they've taken over everything.
The amount of cat videos you and I sent to each other.
it's asinine, y'all. It's crazy how many cat videos that we send back and forth. But cats have somehow over the last especially 5 years have taken storm over social media and regular media, TV, radio, etc. And of course they have this kind of they kind of have their own fictional history, right? That they've come from outer space, they're here to take over the world, that they're extremely wise and capable of manipulating humans into doing what they need so that they can ultimately win out and conquer. It's crazy the amount of spinoffs there have been about cats over the last 5 years that have just created this kind of really just crazy folklore. Someone 20 years from now looking back will probably see all this folklore and think cats actually were at one point aliens who did land here and became domesticated somehow.
Well, it kind of goes along the lines of the Egyptian mythology too. But if you look at a lot of the ancient gods stories and what people are saying today, some people say they were aliens as well. So, and cats are very much connected to Egyptian folklore, and a lot of people say that they're closer to the other side than we are, or any other animal for that matter.
Oh yeah,
They have a paw on this side and a paw on the other side.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
I mean, and honestly, if you just look at a cat, look at a dog and a cat next to each other, and you can just looking at their eyes, you can tell one of them know better than the other, and it's usually the cat. It's like there's some wheels spinning in there. It's kind of scary at times. I know when Binks looks at me, he's not even. I mean, he's a year and a few months old, but he's still pretty young. But when he looks at me, I'm kind of like, what are you plotting? There's something happening. I'm a little nervous. What you gonna do?
Well, yeah, same with my two cats. I have Sam, who's 18, and I have a 9 or 10-year-old named Nui, my black cat. Oh yeah, you look at them sometimes, and it's just like, don't look at them, don't make eye contact, don't make eye contact. Just gonna feed them.
The worst is like when you're like, you're looking at your cat and they wink at you, and it's like, oh, this SOB, there's something off.
I mean, a couple of my dogs have done the same thing. So sometimes, yeah.
They're like, yeah, I'm your pet, wink. You own me, wink.
When we had Sarge, we speculated that he was actually shifting into a human somewhere and then coming back inside as a dog.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember as a kid there was an old Disney movie, Cat from Outer Space. I absolutely love that movie.
I don't know that movie.
You're too young. They're very old.
Okay.
I'm glad to say that we're too young to remember.
It was a good movie. Look it up.
She's
watch
like,
it.
You got to find the VHS. It's buried somewhere with the dinosaur bones, somewhere under there.
VHS and what was the other one? They came out at the same time.
It's VHS.
Yeah. There was VHS, and there was another.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what it was called though.
Which was the better quality, but VHS had better. They were a lot better at advertising and everything, so everybody was just buying VHS. Oh, I can't remember what it is.
I remember
VHS?
the whole Be Kind rewind growing up with Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Like always have rewind thing. It's wild to think that was a thing once upon a time,
Right.
There's
and
like no video stores out now.
left.
Yeah, I mean, technically, it's like once Blockbuster shut down, and then all the others are started.
No.
Right.
I
And
loved
then
Blockbuster.
that's when the streaming systems came out.
Netflix
force.
took over.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember back when Netflix first kicked off, we're like, oh, this is dumb. Like, this is gonna be...
Right.
Oh, dang,
Remember when
should've put
Amazon-
stocks in. My fault. I failed.
Remember when Amazon only sold books?
Right.
Yeah.
And now they're the leading industry in sales for everything.
It's true, my haunted hearts. Amazon started off just selling books. It's true. Look it up. That's crazy.
Some of your listeners are like, "What's a book?"
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Let's see. We did that one. Christmas object taboos from various cultures across Europe and parts of the Americas. Mirrors were covered, ornaments were blessed, new items weren't placed near beds, antique decorations were avoided because objects given with emotion were believed to hold memory. And this aligns well with deliverance cases involving ornaments, heirlooms, and gifts that became focal points for nightmares or apparitions. When I saw that, I didn't realize that covering mirrors and ornaments were blessed. I mean, I've seen households not just at Christmas time, but if there's a death or something in the family, they cover the mirrors. Yeah, but I didn't know it was a Christmas thing as well. So that was pretty interesting for me to find.
Does make sense though. I mean, going along the same lines as a funeral, if you have a spirit or a haunted item or a malevolent entity that's coming to punish, if you cover those up, they're not going to stay. They can't see themselves.
Well, and then you have the tradition of like how spirits supposedly move back and forth through our world through mirrors.
Yeah, portals.
They're portals, but on top of that, Christmas, again, similar to Halloween, it's believed that the veil is thinned around this time, around Christmas time, and so we have a better opportunity, or maybe it's like a bad opportunity, you know.
I would
Like,
say we don't have the opportunity.
maybe we don't have the
spirits do.
opportunity, but depending on the spirit. But you know, we have a better connection potentially with these spirits during the holidays because of that thinning of veil. They're able to come back and forth a little easier, and so closing up those mirrors, that helps to prevent unwanted spirits from crossing over into our realm for the night or, you know, the season.
Right.
And I've always I've had people ask me before, why do you think spirits want to possess objects? And I've always said because, like it says here, because objects given with emotions were believed to hold memory, and because an object might have really meant something to somebody so much that they wanted to take over that item. It's just yeah.
I do want to say that I feel like there's a lot of mistaken, I don't know if the word identity is the right term here, but you know, a lot of people think of spirits possessing items, and when they get an item in, their house is haunted or they're noticing things. But very often it's not that the item is potentially haunted by a spirit, but that it's actually haunted or possessed, I'm going to use that word very loosely, by energy. And I'm not talking spirit energy. I'm not talking about something that's energy, intellectual and that can like react and act to you. But yeah, just energy. Like you think of this thing, it doesn't even have to be in necessarily a bad environment. You know, I'm going to say, for example, someone dying a horrible death, right? That kind of energy can transfer to every object in the room that person passed away in. And it just gets, you know, you look at these items and you think of it as being just filled with ick, right? It's like, you wouldn't walk up to a dumpster and rub your hands all over it out in public, right? Because that thing's ick. You know, that's what these things are spiritually speaking or energetically speaking. So some of these items come in and people just think, oh, my item was haunted and is doing this. It's like, well, they try to get rid of the spirit, but it doesn't always work. And it's because they're trying to fight against the spirit that isn't there. And they need to readapt for the energy that's attached to this item. And I have a lot of items that have had energy. Like I bring in antiques and vintage pieces all the time. I have an African mask that was really thick with some really negative energy. I think it was negative energy. It could have been a spirit, but I knew it. My friend at the time, she didn't believe me until she touched it and held it and was like, yeah, this thing's ick. Like there's something wrong with this. And of course, me being me and being as fascinated as I am, I brought it home anyhow. But I did yeah, naturally. But I did a cleansing before coming in, and I made sure that energy or that spirit, whatever it was attached to it, was not here when I brought it into the home. And I have a few items that were like that over the years. And I have a new room that I've been working on. Almost every single object in there is pre-owned by somebody else. They're vintage items, roughly 15, 20, 40 years old in some cases. So yeah, I think that's something that's very important to note, because we always think, oh, this object is haunted. It's not always the case, because I think, you know, the definition of a haunting is stereotypical, right? We think, oh, it's haunted by a ghost, by a human spirit or entity spirit, right? But that's not true. Sometimes it's just haunted by the energy that it was left in, you know, at whatever given time. Who knows what the energy is?
That's a good point.
It could be anything. It could just be an argument somebody else had, like one time, not even a violent argument, just an argument. A place where somebody was depressed. I've got a friend who lives about an hour from me. She's been dealing with her home. She lives in a duplex and she owns it, but she had a neighbor above her for a few years. They were dealing with depression for the entire time. And the longer he was there, the more she started to witness things happening in her own home. Negative entity or energy that kept kind of coming around and causing trouble. And when he left, the energy didn't go with. And she's been having to go up there, cleanse this place, try to get it back healthy, because there's a little girl moving in.
Oh,
you know, and she like was able to narrow it down to a specific room. But again, this dude, you know, he didn't get into anything that I know of. You know, he didn't do like seances and call upon spirits. And if it was a spiritual attachment, it would have gone with him when he left. But instead, it stayed, which tells me energy doesn't always go with us. It clings to things, it gets stuck, it's sticky.
And I mean, look at residual hauntings.
Same thing.
I sometimes think of the negative energy as like a mold. It just spreads if you don't take care of it.
Yes, 100%.
So one of the haunted holiday gifts, and I didn't know this was given as a holiday gift. Everyone's probably heard of the Divot box. It's one of the most famous objects ever recorded. In the early 2000s, a man purchased an antique wine cabinet and gave it as a Christmas gift to his mother. Shortly after, she suffered a massive stroke the same day she received it. The box became associated with terror, shadow figures, sulfur smells, repeating dreams of an old woman screaming, and multiple owners reported misfortune, illness, and oppressive energies. Paranormal investigators later linked it to a Dybbuk box from Jewish folklore, and the box eventually ended up sealed and studied due to continued activity. Even skeptics admit the pattern of evidence followed ownership, not the environment. It was the ownership. But I also found out later on that the guy who had done a video of opening a Dybbuk box, apparently that was he came out. I haven't seen this. I was told this. He came out and said that was all fake. So, but the Dybbuk box has been around for a while, but
they've made movies about them for a reason.
Yeah.
I think within reason there are plenty of boxes like this that tend to have these associations with hauntings, but also we can't really, without us being able to go and physically investigate it ourselves. All we can do is note that all the things we're hearing about or what we read about is all by word of mouth. Yeah. And so we see that people with this Dybbuk box, they're having night terrors, they're seeing shadow figures, have this sulfur smell happening, having these repeated dreams of the old woman screaming. It's like, did all these people have these things before knowing that those things were happening? Yeah. Or did they know the stories and then got this box and suddenly started having these things, right? Because a lot of that could very well just be mentally produced by the person. Yeah. And there is no spiritual connection, no haunting or anything. Our minds, we talk about this all the time. Our minds are extremely strong and capable of manipulating us, our thought process, what we see, what we understand, how we interpret things. So that's something to be very, considerate of.
I just still can't believe that was gifted as a Christmas gift, knowing, maybe people back then didn't. Well, it was in the early 2000s, so I don't know. I just found it creepy that somebody was gifted that for Christmas.
Sometimes you just never know either. I mean, sometimes people just believe that stuff like that is just legend, and you shouldn't be afraid of that.
Yeah, not everyone responds to these things the same. Some people are closed off to it, and they'll never witness the nuances that this thing has supposedly showed, according to evidence. Whereas others, they're very, very susceptible to it. And they're the ones who wake up in the middle of the night and have to get rid of this thing because of it.
Yeah.
Yep. Another haunted Christmas gift was a haunted teddy bear. That was Christmas morning manifestations. So reported by the Society for Psychical Research in the UK, a Victorian-era teddy bear was gifted to a child on Christmas morning. Almost immediately, the child refused to sleep near it, claimed it whispered at night, said the man inside the bear watches. That would be freaky if my child said that. The family experienced footsteps in hallways, toys activating on their own, cold spots centered around the bear, and when the bear was removed, activity stopped. Now, later research suggests the bear once belonged to a child who sadly passed away of tuberculosis. The timing, Christmas morning, was key to investigators.
Kind of close to what we've talked about a couple of times in the past couple months of haunted dolls.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that I really wish there would be more of, and this is obviously there has to be a waiver signed on this because you can't really do it without someone's permission. But when you find these objects that are supposedly haunted, we often have people go in to see if they can experience the haunting themselves, right? And so these people typically know, this teddy bear supposedly, potentially has an attachment or is haunted. I'm going to walk in and see if I have the experiences. 9 times out of 10, these people do have the experience. And again, we come back to this psychological aspect, is this just mentally produced? But what they really need to start doing are case studies where they have 2 set groups, one who know that this bear is potentially haunted, and one who has no idea whatsoever about this bear or any haunting at all. And then we'll truly see what's happening, right? Because if we see both A and B groups, experiencing this haunting, well, the chances are there's a haunting, right?
Yep.
But if we don't, then we're questioning, okay, maybe this is all psychological, and the ones who did believe or knew about it happened to manifest these sightings, these things, the cold spots, etc. Whereas the other who didn't know wasn't susceptible to such things because their minds are just, they weren't untouched, or they weren't touched by this, teddy bear prior, this understanding of it or belief.
Right.
That would be a very interesting case study. Music box that played without power. Midwest U.S. case investigated in the 1990s. A grandmother gifted a hand-cranked music box to her granddaughter for Christmas. Within days, it would play without being wound at exactly 3:17 a.m. The melody slowed unnaturally, sometimes warping. A medium later identified the box as originating from a home where a child passed away during a winter illness. When the box was buried, not destroyed, the disturbance stopped. Attempts to throw it away resulted in it reappearing in the house.
That's a kind of a common thing. I mean, look at how many people have used Ouija boards, tried to throw them away, and supposedly they were back in the house the next day.
Yeah.
I could try to be skeptical on this, but I actually grew up with this toy, not little. It was probably about a good 1.5 feet or so tall, maybe about 1 foot tall. I don't know. But there's this giant monster, this brown monster that when it had batteries in it, you push a button, it would like move its hand, it would roar. It had an axe in its hand, and its eyes would glow. Well, in the middle of the night at times, I'd have them in my closet. It would wake up and start going R R R, right? And I could hear the feet moving. Batteries, no big deal, right? It probably got bumped or whatever. But this is a continuing thing. And eventually, and my sisters were aware of it as well, my parents too, or at least my mom. I took the batteries out of it because they kept waking me up. And even though the batteries are out of it, this thing would wake up in the middle of the night and hear that R, 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 and its eyes would light up. And it's like, that's impossible. Something that does not have power should not be working at all. Yeah. And I'm sure there is some sort of explanation behind it, possibly, but I had witnessed this thing for a few years before finally. I do still have it, by the way, naturally, but it hasn't woken up in a long time, right? But this thing, like, it scared us like horribly. Like, we took a baseball bat to this thing one night because of how horrifying it was. It's not busted at all. Like, we took a baseball bat to it and it's fine. It didn't break. Nothing cracked.
That's normal.
This thing is, right. It's interesting though that something like this would happen, because this is something that is consistent among electronics that potentially could be haunted. The fact that it could work without power is interesting.
I mean, if it happened only a handful of times, you could probably speculate that it was bound up energy in the electronics themselves. But when it happened consistently over and over again, that's what makes it weird.
Right.
We did an investigation once where we're in the basement and a bunch of kids' toys were there, and one of the toys was going off. So I sauntered over, picked it up, opened it. I'm like, guys, there's no batteries. And everybody's like, what? I'm like, yeah, there's no batteries. So I don't know enough about electronics to know, like, even though the batteries weren't there, when did they remove the batteries, first of all, because I don't remember, and can it store some of the energy from the battery for a specific amount of time? I don't know.
Yeah, you can. Typically, it's more from plugged in electronics, but a lot of battery operated ones can hold it there. That's why they say do be careful when you're removing the batteries, especially. It's not very common where something like that will happen after the batteries are removed, but it has happened. But that, again, you don't know how long that was.
Yeah.
And same thing with Erik's toy. If it happened a couple of times, okay, maybe stored energy. If it's happening consistently every day or every week, something like that, yeah, probably something more, but you never know. either, really, especially with the way electronics are coming around more and more today.
I can't remember if the client had told us that it had gone off before, after the fact. I don't remember. It was so many years ago. I just remember that toy going off, and and I have to admit, it creeped us all out. We were intrigued, but creeped out at the same time.
Right.
I mean
that's
for good reason.
Right.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're there to investigate things going on in their house.
How many people see something like haunted or really spooky, and they run the other way while the three of us are like, or four of us, are like, oh. Wait, let's go take a look at this some more. That was pretty scary. Let's go check this out.
Well, I ran away once, and that was during our investigation at the Jeffrey Dahmer house. But it was me provoking.
That's true.
I put it on myself. So
Justin.
It wasn't even really provoking. I just said, touch one of us. So but since I said it, it decided to touch me. And then I'm like, yep, it's here. I'm going outside. No worries, it's totally cool. I just gotta be away for a minute.
That was a fun investigation. I gotta just say something here that I did that was really funny, but also really dumb, and I just did it because I was correct the first time and wrong the second time. Because I said the three of us.
Oh yeah, then
run in, and then I said the four of us because for a moment I counted 3 people on the screen plus myself here in person. I was like, "Oh, that's 4." So,
I was wondering.
Eric's dumb moment of the night.
I mean, unless you're seeing a spirit behind one of us.
I mean, good. No, I was just an idiot.
Or, yeah, maybe it was a spirit, and they tapped you on the shoulder and said, "4."
It could have been. Maybe that's what it was. We'll go with that. Let's just go with that.
Okay,
like
sure. Okay,
a little less embarrassing.
Spiritual manipulation over just a mistake. I don't like that idea either.
I got you, Eric. I'll cover for you. So there's another one here, the ornament that caused nightmares. So this was actually documented by a Catholic priest involved in deliverance cases. A family purchased antique Christmas ornaments from a flea market and gifted it to their daughter. Nightmares began immediately, and faceless woman standing by the tree, a choking sensation during sleep. The ornament would fall from the tree repeatedly, even when secure. After a blessing activity escalated, the priest later learned the ornament came from a home where a woman took her own life during Christmas season. Once removed and properly disposed of, the dream ceased. Now, I would like to know how they properly disposed of it. I couldn't find that.
I'd also like to know how the woman took her life, and I would assume by strangulation. Yep. Probably hung herself. If they're
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Choking sensation.
Yeah.
With something like this, I do find credit in it because the Catholic Church, they don't blatantly say something is haunted to say something's haunted. They investigate, and the majority of the cases that they take are not hauntings. They're usually they end up being something psychological, something that is completely just normal that people are witnessing. So
it takes them years to investigate it too.
Yeah. So if they're coming out and saying this, like a Catholic priest is saying this is a haunting, there's something up with this, then I'm like, okay, there's credibility there because they don't take that stuff lightly, and they're very cautious of when they send an exorcist out or when they do any sort of rites to get rid of the spirits.
I do also know, like you're saying, you don't know how they dispose of it. There are a lot of reliquaries that they just seal up and put into the basement of the Vatican. That could have been what happened to it.
Could have been, yeah. So when I was researching this, it also said, why Christmas? So from a paranormal research perspective, Christmas has heightened emotions, ancestral memory, ritual repetition, because putting up the Christmas tree, lighting some candles, if that's what you do, the Christmas dinner, a whole bunch of things that we do every year. And gifts often carry emotional intention, attachment, energy, and knowingly transferred to objects. Winter traditions also overlap with older death and ancestor festivals, especially in Europe and indigenous cultures. In many belief systems, spirits follow intention, not calendars, which that is a good point.
That it is. Energy is definitely heightened around the Christmas season in a very broad sense. On top of that, when we think of Christmas, I think we tend to like to think joy and happiness. But for many people, that's not the case. There's loneliness. There's, like stress. Right? A lot of stress. You're dealing with presents, dealing with money, dealing with the family members that you don't typically talk to.
Family.
Right?
Yep. Oh, yes.
So it makes total sense that these hauntings would peak up around Christmas time because they're feeding off the energy. And we all know how hauntings work, at least most of us, right? Your listeners. Hauntings tend to feed off energy. And when we're using negative energy or experience negative energy, that's some of the strongest in many cases, are the ones that, darker, I'm not going to say evil entities, but darker entities might feed off of, or things will pick up. Usually when we're happy, we don't have this, we don't have this nature of thinking, oh, haunting, right? We don't think of, oh, ghosts when we're happy and relaxed.
Yeah.
So we're not experiencing it. But when you're alone, when you're depressed and you're stressed, our minds naturally wander, whether it's purposely, cognitively, or otherwise. We open a door that we don't plan on opening, we don't expect to open. And I've witnessed it myself. I'm sure you guys probably had some sort of, something that you've noticed at some point throughout your life around Christmas time. And it's, I don't know, it's just, in a sense, it's really sad because you think of how many people who've experienced these things probably have gone through some difficult times.
Yeah.
And some of these are just, they linger. And this could be things that happened 6, 10, 20 years ago, but that continues. How many people miss their loved ones who have passed away?
Yep.
Right.
Definitely. I remember when my husband and I were first together, I was over at the in-laws at Christmas time, and my sister-in-law, husband, and I were talking about ghosts. And all of a sudden, the Christmas tree fell over. It was secured. It was attached. And we're all just like, okay, we're going to change the subject now because whatever it was, we're like, no, we're done talking about that.
It's amazing, like what can happen when you're talking about certain things.
Yeah.
Several years, little more than several years ago, this is probably like 10 years ago now. My sister and I, we were at her old house, and we were talking about a Christian college. She had just started going to a Christian college that I was at, a university. And as we were talking about it, one of the bar stools, one of the chairs in her kitchen right next to us, slid out from behind the table by itself. We both stopped and looked at it and just stared at it like, what in the world, right? We're looking for is there a cat? And of course no one was around. There was nothing around. But this house had repeatedly had things happen. One that we're just, sitting on the couch and the chandelier started swinging back and forth. No rhyme or reason to it. But it's interesting that when you bring up certain topics, how some entities tend to respond to those things. Yep. And whether those responses are negative or positive or just their way of saying, oh, I'm interested in that topic. I want to be part of it. We don't know. I think a lot of us immediately jump to scary, right? Because it's startling, and we allow Hollywood to kind of infect our mind with what likely isn't the case scenario, right? Yeah. Something dark or scary. But yeah, conversation sparks emotion, and emotion sparks energy, and energy is what ultimately these things feed off of. Obviously, I use the word things lightly. I'm talking about the things that happen, not about the spirit itself.
Okay.
Wow, Erik, that was fantastically said.
Thank you, sir. It's a rare occasion, but I'm glad it happened here.
You've had some good ones this time. I'll give you that.
Right on.
Where you didn't stumble or mispronounce
say something wrong. No, I'm still stuck on the 4 of us when there's only 3. So
I'll give you that. That was a mess up, but
well, I started thinking, well, maybe they had a team before with 4 people. Maybe that's what they're talking about.
No, I'm just counting myself twice. I'm counting myself and then the other voice inside my head. That's
I'm counting myself and the Holy Spirit that is inside of me.
Thank you. Yes, that's what I should have went with initially, but I was too caught up in the mess up.
Oh, geez. So across cultures, Christmas was historically seen as a dangerous threshold, a time where the dead walk, a period where objects matter more than places. Modern Christmas erased the warnings, but the experiences didn't stop. I was trying to come up with something clever to say after that, and I've got nothing.
Well, something, and I think we're going to kind of talk about this on our show, is today's day and age, they really push not talking about Santa. I've just learned this because it's lying to your kids, makes them believe things that aren't real. It also, punishment that isn't there anymore. It's just you get gifts from Santa. And really, where did the psychological shift change? Because I still remember all of that as a kid myself, and over the years I've seen different parenting techniques that I'm like, that kid just needs a swat on the butt or something to that effect.
I will stand by disciplining children. Like
Yeah.
that is something that does not happen these days. And I'm not saying beat your kid. That's horrible.
No,
No.
But I was
there's a
spanked
huge
when I was a
difference
kid.
between just a swat on the butt over slapping them repeatedly until there's a bruise.
Yeah.
I will say, I hate today's culture in terms of how they treat these things, the belief systems, because they're forcing children to grow up much faster than they should have to. I know children who are 7, 8, 9 years old who are basically young adults, right? They don't believe in anything. They don't have the imaginary friend. They're so focused on this whole culture of drugs and violence and sex, and it's like, you're freaking 9 years old. Why do you know these things? And it's disgusting, to be honest, in my opinion. And I get it. Yes, you want to set boundaries and keep your kid protected. Let them know those things as early as possible so they can stay away from them. But at the same time, you're destroying their imagination. It's a time when, like when I was growing up, I was nothing but imaginative. The whole idea of our podcast started because of imagination when I was a kid. When I was watching X-Files and thinking there were aliens and ghosts and monsters, and it was something my sisters and I did. We had fun. We played imagination, right? Cops and robbers, or astronaut, or running from dinosaurs. We had this imaginary friend in our sewer called Rapsy. It was a velociraptor that lived in our sewer that we would feed sticks and rocks to, right? These are things that I think made me who I am. It's what made me a creator. It's what got me in the film industry ultimately, and it's what I think, at least in part, sparked the podcast. This whole creative side of it, and the fact that so many children don't have that nowadays is really sad, because then they grow up to do, and not in all cases, but in many cases, there are people who are doing meaningless jobs. And I'm not saying the jobs themselves are meaningless, but to them, it's meaningless. Like, there's not a purpose. There's nothing there because they didn't have the time, or they're missing their childhood. Like, I wish I was still a kid, because they didn't have a childhood like they should have. So I personally think it's sad that we are in this era of trying to get kids to grow up too fast. And one of my most fond memories as a kid, and I still don't know how it was done, but my sisters and I were in bed, and we heard bells outside on Christmas Eve. And we had the windows open, and we're listening, and we'd hear the bells go by. And the next morning, we woke up and we were told to rush outside. And in the backyard of this house that I live in now, on the ground was the marking of a sled and reindeer paws with no human footprints whatsoever.
That's cool.
No idea how they did that without putting footprints there in fresh snow, but it had driven us wild. Like, we believed in Santa. We knew for a fact he was real. And to this day, like, no one has told us, no one has said what it was or how they did it. So as far as I know, it was Santa, right? Because I have no other way to prove otherwise. But I do think when it comes to the belief, like, Santa is real for a lot of us, and that's not in necessarily physical, literal being, but he's kind of this entity within us. It's what we all do. It's what we all, I think it's what we should all strive for, right? Being the giver of gifts, being there for our loved ones, being there to help support others, especially in times that are just honestly very fragile nowadays and a little too serious.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's actually hoof prints, not paw prints.
I was going to say.
But in the song, say reindeer paws up on the house, reindeer paws.
Really?
Yes, not reindeer hoofs.
I don't know. I think that's a Mandela thing. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to go look at the lyrics now. So before we sign off, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for doing the Christmas episode with me. I really appreciate you guys being here. Can you please tell the listeners where they can find you? And if you have any final thoughts, the mic is yours.
Justin.
Well, don't look for us. We're nowhere.
Hey, whoa.
Yeah. Whoa.
If you put in ParaTruth, both ParaTruth Radio and ParaTruth Reborn should show up. If not, you can look us up on the social medias. We do have a website, paratruth.com. We are on UPRN and a couple of other radio stations outside of that. Final thoughts, a lot of the older traditions I wish we would bring back. Mm-hmm. Yes, I don't believe in fear mongering in order to get kids to behave.
Yeah.
But there is a way to be healthy about how you do this stuff. And I think that it should still be kept alive.
Yeah. I agree, and I'll add that I think it's important that we continue to share the stories, both the scary ones, the fear, not just fearmonger, but just to share, historical significance and tradition. But I think it's a way of building character. Ultimately, you allow children and people younger to kind of make up their own mind of what they believe and disbelieve, and that's what helps build them to become who they are when they're adults. And of course, there's just the aspect of Christmas. Like you take that out, you take away Santa Claus, you take away the stories. Like, what do you have other than just a day like any other day? Just you happen to give gifts, and it takes away all the magic, in my opinion. So I think it's important to keep that magic established, especially for the young ones. And we should continue starting right here as we have been doing these Christmas stories and sharing the history of Christmas.
Yeah.
Well said, guys. Okay, so a huge thank you to my special guest tonight, Erik Scerbak and Justin Cancilliere, and to you, my wonderful haunted hearts, for tuning in. I also want to thank UPRN 107.7 New Orleans, 105.3 the Gulf Coast for carrying the show. And if you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. It truly does mean the world to me. And if you'd like to be on the show, you have guest or topic suggestions, you just want to say hello, drop me an email at paranormalheart13@gmail.com. From all of us here at Paranormal Heart Podcast, we want to wish you a peaceful and joyful holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, or whatever. Joyeux Noël à ma famille et mes amis aussi. May this time be filled with warmth, reflection, and moments that truly matter. Please take care of yourselves. Look out for one another. Be safe and always be kind. The world needs that a little bit more these days. From our hearts to yours, thank you for being part of our journey.